Om Sang Saraswati Namaha Namaste. Last night we were talking about the establishment of the yantra, the meaning of the yantra, the employment of the yantra, the application in our sadhana. And I'm wondering if there are any further questions on that subject before we begin. Please.
I'll try and frame it, but right now it's rather abstract. So if I understand it as a guided meditation, I understand it as coming in from grosser to more subtle to the bindu, and then transcend. I don't understand the calling on so many different aspects of God, so many different. I don't understand why we call on so many, and how being so, calling on so many brings us greater benefit than if we just called on Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, for example, or Mother Divine.
When the mind is focused, you only need to call on one. But when the mind is scattered, you need all the help that you can get. I'd like to tell you a story in answer to that question about the king who came to the Rishi's ashram. The Rishi was outside. Oh my goodness. Namaste. A fly just walked on top of the lens of the camera. Namaste. The king came to the Rishi's ashram. And the Rishi was out in the forest practicing meditation. The Rishi's young son came up to the king and said, Namaste, king. Welcome to our ashram. What service can I perform for you? How can I serve you? The king said, I really must talk to the Rishi because I have a tremendous burden that I want to be relieved of. The Rishi's young son said, my father is meditating in the forest right now. I have been his disciple since birth, and you can ask your question from me. Let's see if I can't find a solution for your problem. The king said, I am the king of a mighty nation and commander-in-chief of a great army. During our campaigns, we have slain many enemy soldiers, occupied many villages, taken over, looted, plundered, pillaged, and done all kinds of heinous crimes against humanity. And now I'm approaching older age, and I want to know, what can I do to become free from all the sins that I committed? And the young boy said, King, the solution to your problem is very, very simple. Go home and say the name of Ram twice. The king said, twice? All I have to do is say Ram, Ram, and I'll be absolved from all the sins I've accumulated over all the years I've been. The king was ecstatic with joy. He took leave from the Rishi's ashram. He bowed down to the young Brahmin boy, and he went home. That evening, the father came home from the forest. He said, my son, were there any visitors to the ashram today? Yes, father, there was. Well, who came and what did he want? Father, a king came and he said that he had committed all kinds of sins and he wanted to know what he could do to become free from sin. Well, what did you tell him? I told him to go home and say the name of Ram twice. Whoa! What kind of disciple are you? You could have told him to say it once. Now, if you're focused, and if you have the bhav, if you are collected, you only need to say it once. But if you are scattered, if you are trying to collect your many minds and focus them into one, we need all the allies that we can possibly get. This next puja that we're going to discuss is called the Sarvato Bhadramandala Devata Sthapanam. All the excellent circle of deities, the entourage of the divine. We're going to call upon them all to come and adorn our yantra. So we have so many protectors sitting on the yantra, and now we're going to put more protectors sitting on the protectors. And I want to give you an illustration. If you invite Sri Ma to dinner, you had better set a place for Swami as well. Because most probably Sri Ma is going to bring her entourage. At least she needs a driver. And it's quite possible that Gautam and Sarat might show up too. And in fact, while you're cooking, put a little extra potato in the soup. And maybe another cup of water, because Srini and Rami and Parvati and the rest of the family will want to come too, because it's an occasion. So now in this Sarvato Bhadramandala Devata Stapanam, we're going to establish the entourage that comes along with the Divine Mother. And these are in addition to the deities that we've already established on top of the yantra, that sit in the various angles and spaces which define the roadmap, which pull us along the way. Let's go ahead and proceed with this next vidhi. Let's read the Sanskrit first. Sarvato Bhadramandala Devata Sthapanam. We're on page 146. Now, we usually take little petals, so we tear the flowers apart and put the petals on the yantra in the various locations. The locations are indicated by the numbers, and the numbers on the yantra correspond to the number of the mantra, which is the name of the deity and the place upon which he sits or she sits. So that with flowers, we can establish the inner circle of Mother's devotees. Om Bhurvubhasva Brahmane Namaha Brahmama Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Somaya Namaha Somama Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Ishanaya Namaha Ishanama Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Indraya Namaha Indrama Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Agnaye Namaha Agnima Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Nyamaya Namaha Nyamama Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Niritake Namaha Niritima Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Varunaya Namaha Varunama Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Vayave Namaha Vayuma Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhurvubhasva Ashtamursu Vyo Namaha Ashtabasuna Vakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Ekadasha Rudebhyo Nama Ekadasha Rudran Avahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Dvadasha Dityevyo Nama Dvadasha Ditya Navahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Ashvibhyam Nama Ashvino Avahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Savetrika Vishwebhyo Devebhyo Namaha Savetrika Vishwan Devan Namavahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Satyakshevhyo Namaha Satyakshan Navahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Ashtakula Nagebhyo Namaha Ashtakula Naganavahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Gandhavapsarobhyo Namah Gandhavapsaravsa Avakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Skandaya Namah Skandamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Vrishabhaya Namah Vrishabhamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Shulaya Namah Shulamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Mahakalaya Namah Mahakalamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Dakshadi Saptaganebhyo Namah Dakshadi Saptagananavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Durgaya Namah Durgamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Vishnave Namah Vishnumavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Swadaya Namah Swadhamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Rityurongabhyo Namah Rityuroganavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Ganapataye Namah Ganapati Mavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Abhyo Namah Abhayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Marubhyo Namah Maruta Abhakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Prithibhyo Namah Prithivim Abhayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Gangadi Nadibhyo Namah Gangadi Nadi Abhayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Saptasagarebhyo Namah Saptasagarana Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Mirve Namah Mirumavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Gadaya Namah Gadamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Trishulaya Namah Trishulamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Bhadraya Namah Bhadramavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Sakti Namah Shakti Mavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Dandaya Namah Dandamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Khargaya Namah Khargamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Pashaya Namah Pashamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Ankushaya Namah Ankushamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Gautamaya Namah Gautamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Bharadwajvaya Namah Bharadwajamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Vishwamitraya Namah Vishwamitramavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Kashyapaya Namah Kashyapamavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Jamadagni Namah Jamadagni Mavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Vashishtaya Namah Vashishtam Avakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Atre Namah Atre Mavakayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Urundati Namah Urundatim Avahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Indri Namah Indrim Avahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Kumari Namah Kumarim Avahayami Stapayami. Om Bhuvasva Brahmi Namah Brahmim Avahayami Stapayami. Bharbhuvasva Bharatim Namah Bharatim Avakayami Stapayami. Bharbhuvasva Chamundai Namah Chamundam Avahayami Stapayami. Bharbhuvasva Vaishnavi Namah Vaishnavim Avahayami Stapayami. Bharbhuvasva Maheshwari Namah Maheshwarim Avahayami Stapayami. Bharbhuvasva Boinaki Namah Boinakim Avahayami Stapayami. Now these 57 deities of the Sarvato Bhadramandala Devata are established in the various locations around the yantra, and we work our way from the outer, well, we begin in the bindu, and then we go in the 10 directions, and then we feel in from the outside to the inside, and we come closer and closer and closer until we get to hug the mother. We enter into the bindu, and that is the place where the Divine Mother will sit, after more of her entourage is invited as well. And with these flowers, we cover the entire yantra, because the yantra is the asana upon which the mother will sit, upon which it's covered with flowers of the deities of the yantra, upon which is covered with the entourage, the flowers of the deities of her entourage, upon which the yoginis are going to sit, and then the mother is going to sit on top of that mountain of flowers which is mounded over the yantra, so that the yantra is concealed from view. It's a very private matter. It's not something we broadly advertise. This is the map of my concept of divinity. This is my secret map. It's a secret treasure map. And it shows us the way to find the hidden treasure. So we hide the map, concealed under a mountain of flowers. And then we know the contents of the map. And it's not something that we broadly proclaim, because we don't want to in any way diminish the value. So let's read about these deities of Mother's entourage. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the creative consciousness in the center. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. And this is our refrain. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the Lord of devotion in the north, at the top of the yantra. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Avahayami stapayami. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the ruler of all in the northeast. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the rule of the pure in the east. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the divine fire in the southeast. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the supreme controller in the south. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the destroyer in the southwest. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We bow to the Lord of equilibrium in the west. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Lord of liberation in the northwest. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the 8 lords of beneficence. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. And the 8 lords, the Ashtaboshu, they preside over all that is beneficial and beneficent, and all that is conducive to welfare, and they are the Ashtaboshu. They also are related to Kuber and the 8 forms of wealth. And we'll get to those 8 forms of wealth a little bit later in the puja. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the 11 relievers from sufferings. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. So here we have the 11 forms of Rudra. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the 12 sons of light, or the Adityas, the sons of Aditi. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the 2 horses of pure desire, the Ashwins, the Ashwindo. We invoke you, we invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the ancestors along with the shining ones of the universe. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the energy that brings the good and bad of wealth. We invoke you, we invite you, and establish your presence. They bring all the wealth and all that it brings with it. And sometimes it's good because there's so much we can do with those resources when we are empowered to do good. And then sometimes the yaksh gets a hold of us and we become greedy or miserly, and we want to hold on to that wealth instead of investing that wealth in the betterment of society, and we use it for selfish ends. And then they preside over those both usages of wealth. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the family of 8 snakes. All the Nagabio, they have the 8 inner forms of energy. We'll get a definition of those a little later in the puja. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the celestial musicians and heavenly maidens. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the God of war. Om, we invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the bull of discipline, the conveyance of Shiva Nandi. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the spear of concentration. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the great time. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to ability. And to the other 7 qualities, we invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. And we will discuss those other 7 qualities along with Daksha and the the other characteristics a little later in the puja. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the reliever of difficulties. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the all-pervading consciousness. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the ancestors. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the spirit of deadly illnesses. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Lord of the multitudes. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to acts of sacrifice. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the shining ones. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the earth. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Ganges and other rivers. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the seven seas. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, the causal body, we bow to Mount Meru. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the club. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the trident. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the thunderbolt. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to energy. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the staff. We invoke you and invite you and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the sword. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. On the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the net. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. And all of these weapons which are wielded by the goddess in order to slay the negativities born of self-conceit and self-deprecation and the armies of the great ego, all of these are appendages of our sadhana, which we have described in the meditations in the beginning. And we've already gone through them. We'll have them again when we, a little later in the puja, when we establish the Agni Prajvalita. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the goad. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Rishi Gautam. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Rishi Bharadwaj. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Rishi Vishwamitra. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Rishi Kashyap. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Rishi Jamadogni. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Rishi Vashisht. We invoke you and invite you and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to the Rishi Otre. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Devi Arundhati, the wife of Vashishta, the example of purity. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Aindri, the energy of the rule of the pure. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Kumari, the energy of the ever pure one. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Brahmi, the energy of creative consciousness. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Varahi, the energy of the boar of sacrifice. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Chamunda, the conqueror of passion and meanness. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Vaishnavi, the energy of all pervading consciousness. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond the conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Maheshwari, the energy of the supreme sovereign. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Om the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, we bow to Boinaki, the energy of excellent conduct. We invoke you, invite you, and establish your presence. Now these 57 deities, some are negative qualities. Mrityu Rongevyo, the spirit of deadly diseases. Why would we invoke the spirit of deadly diseases to sit on our yantra and be part of our entourage? We have to befriend the enemy. We can't leave him out there to cause trouble. Make him your friend. Make him sit on the yantra. Make him divine. If you make the enemy divine, then he's no longer an enemy. He's no longer a cause of obstruction. He becomes an ally. So in this way, we are calling all the qualities of divinity, both positive and negative, come and become divine. Come to the banquet with Srima. Everybody come to dinner with the Divine Mother. Sit on the dais, sit on the asan, and participate in this circle of divinity and circle of light. We're calling the weapons of war, the club of articulation of mantras, the sword of wisdom, the shield of faith, the staff of discipline, the net of unity. We're calling all the rishis, the saptarishis, the 7 rishis. Please come and bless us with wisdom. We're calling the gods, we're calling the goddesses, we're calling their conveyances. Everyone who partakes of divinity, please come and share with us and be part of the entourage of Divine Mother. Do we have questions about the Sarvato Bhadramandala Devata?
Swamiji, the question is about the invitation
Yes.
Are they inviting them to the yantra on the plate or to the yantra inside us?
Both. The yantra on the plate is the reflection of the yantra inside us. And after a little bit, we're going to establish the yantra inside us. We're going to actually physically place it here. Om Dar Shakta Ginamo Kurmayanamo Nantaganamo Prithivyamo Shirasamudrayanamo Shweta Dipayanamo Mani Mandapayanamo Kalpa Brikshayanamo Mani Vedikayanamo Ratna Singhasanayamo. And we're going to draw this entire yantra right here so that we can invite the goddess Avaham Stapan. Sit here in the bindu. Now that you've sat in the bindu here, you can sit in the bindu there. And now we have outside a perfect reflection of what's inside. The macrocosm is the perfect reflection of the microcosm. So, for the purpose of this puja, we're going to establish the flowers outside. It'll be a little messy to put the flowers inside. But for the purpose of our yajna, we're going to take them from the inside and put them outside. We're going to call these deities and put them on the yantra in the Havan Kund. So we want to become very intimate with this Sarvato Bhadramandala Devata, so that we can make Stapan, and we can make Havan, and we can make Visarjan. We will call them at various times during the pujas and yajnas. Other questions?
Is this appropriate to do with the yajna if we've already established with the yantra and you've done all that before and you have a fire going?
Not, you wouldn't use the flowers. You could do the Sarvato Bhadramandala Havana.
Okay.
Brahmane Namaha Swaha, Somaya Namaha Swaha, etc. We'll get to that later in the Yajna Padoti. Right now we're talking about the establishment in the Puja Padoti. Yes?
Petals that put in the yantra, the petals we'll put in the yantra?
Yes.
Will it be just approximating these positions?
Yes, as close as you can possibly get. Now, sometimes I've made Havan in a very, very large homakund where we have to throw the flowers and pray that they land in the right place. And after some practice, you can judge the weight of the flower. But it's difficult to proclaim perfect accuracy. And if you have a small yantra, then after a while they start piling up on each other, and it's difficult to maintain consistency. So I would say the first some odd flowers have to be extremely accurate. And then after a while, you start to get a mound of flowers. And when we get to the 64 yoginis on top of that, it's going to become a mountain. Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Please.
These are all aspects of us.
Yes.
These are all, they're all us. There's nothing here that's not us. There's nothing here that already doesn't exist in us.
Correct.
And we're enlivening by emphasizing.
Right. We're inviting them, we're invoking them, we're establishing them. And we are establishing their presence. We're saying, okay, stand up in your seat or be recognized. Let me recognize you. Let me pay special attention to you and recognize your presence in my life. And your presence in the lives of all the other sadhus as well. We want to acknowledge that, to invoke it, to invite and establish, enliven, empower, and thereby we empower ourselves.
And so we say, Om, the infinite beyond conception, then the gross body, then the subtle body, and the causal body. Why? It seems like we kind of go out of order there.
No, those are the order of the Beatitudes that we're calling them, the Vyahritis. They are the infinite beyond conception, and then it becomes manifest. We are seeing it manifest in the gross body. We are conceiving it as manifest in the subtle body. And we know through intuition of its existence in the causal body. Now this Om is pervading all. Every application of consciousness, whether it be through perception, empirical perception through the senses, or conception in the subtle body, perceiving our thoughts or dreams, or through intuition or meditation, knowing beyond, through feeling. This Om pervades all. That's what we're proclaiming. I am seeing Om made manifest outside. I am seeing Om made manifest inside. And I feel, intuit, cognize, become aware of, recognize the presence of that infinite beyond conception, beyond. So that's why the Beatitudes, Om Bhurvuvaswaha, the infinite beyond conception, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, they introduce every divine figure that comes into my life. Because all of these forms of divinity pervade every level of consciousness. And I'm not just worshiping on one level. I'm worshiping on every level, simultaneously. So, therefore, this invocation. We invoke you, we invite you, and establish your presence. Are there other questions?
Establish your presence. Establish their presence. Invite you and establish your presence.
I put you into a flower. I put the flower on my yantra, and there your presence is manifest. I've just established your presence. In a form through which I can have relationship. Without form, I can't have relationship. Without relationship, how can I have feeling? What feeling can we manifest towards the infinite beyond conception? If you are, then I am, and then I am privileged to be able to love you. I love you. I have feeling towards you. That's called Saguna Upasana, the worship with form, through which you and I unite in such an ecstasy. There ceases to be definition. There ceases to be distinction. There ceases to be any compound. It becomes a complete union. we become composited, merged into oneness. Because every compound that's put together will separate. But when there's only one, how can it separate? And that's the realization that we're pursuing. So I'm loving you and respecting you and paying attention to you with such intensity that the duality fades away and the unity persists. And this is the object. This is what this yantra is going to teach us to do. To focus with such an intensity that we come into the fulfillment of communion. We unite in oneness, step by step. Are there other questions? Om Sang Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.